Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another F1 chat. We've just had the Hungarian Grand Prix of 2024, and oh no, we're going to have to talk about McLaren and Red Bull. Oh, this could be interesting. It could be very challenging to see the pure perspective, but let's face it, they were the two main stories of the Hungarian Grand Prix. The chaos of McLaren and the situation regarding one of the drivers of Red Bull Racing. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on the McLaren side of it first because I think that's the more intriguing, let's say, and complex one. But then I want to talk about the Red Bull situation and that particular driver. So if we get straight into that, might just give me a bit of an idea as to how we are going to go about this. So, McLaren. The situation between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Now, I think the first thing we can all definitely agree with is that was probably the most miserable podium I have ever seen as a result of everything that happened. Let's not forget, Oscar Piastri is his first win. First ever win. Don't forget the other drivers that have had their first ever win in recent times and the way that things have been reacted. You had Lando Norris this year, absolutely elated, absolutely ecstatic, amazed, incredible, absolutely loving everything. Charles Leclerc winning his first Monaco Grand Prix, absolutely in delirium of how much he just absolutely loved what was going on. And a first F1 win should be giving you that euphoria. I mean, I can't say for certain, I'm not a Formula 1 driver, but that should be. It's the first time you're feeling on top of the world. And let's not make a mistake here. Oscar Piastri deserved to win the the Hungarian Grand Prix based on his performances, right? I don't think there's anyone doubting that. I don't think there's anyone doubting that Lando Norris did incredibly well in the Hungarian Grand Prix. And this is a thing that's gutting to me because we'll talk about Lando Norris in a little bit, but the majority of these issues were caused by McLaren messing up again. Now, I don't know how they were going to go about this or anything like that, but the discussions that were going on, that they could have had those sort of conversations of whoever leads at the end of the first pit stops is the lead driver and get that sort of thing. That was a little bit weird as well in terms of the fact that Lando Norris was almost treated as the lead driver in getting the pit stops first, but I sort of understand that because it was in reaction to the pit stop from Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen and making sure that he was covered off. Absolutely fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. But it all seemed a little weird. Now, I think firstly, Lando Norris doing this thing of proving a point, it just made that had an impact. I think it almost made it feel like it was Joe, the best way of describing it, it almost felt like it was a Michael Schumacher Rubens Barrichello situation. You know what I mean? Just like let the other guy pass, and it ruined the spectacle and the enjoyment from all of that. But I will defend Lando as well here, because how did Piastri not have the tyres? How did Piastri not have the tyres to be able to catch Lando? Why was it that Lando was faster than Piastri despite having older tyres? That was all very unusual, very peculiar. But I think the one thing that I have to say for an absolute fact is none of this is Lando's fault. None of it is Oscar Piastri's fault. It was all awkward from McLaren, but it's just frustrating. It's just annoying the fact that this situation happened the way it did. What I will say is that maybe it could have been resolved a bit quicker by McLaren being a little choosing what they described over the radio. I wonder if Lando Norris had been told that Lewis Hamilton was 13 seconds behind Piastri, that he would have been so much about we need to protect ourselves, we need to fight, it's risky, and everything like that. Maybe it's that sort of thing of working things out to get it all right. And yeah, it is going to be that situation where sometimes team instructions feel a little bit wrong. And this is one of those where, if I'm being honest, McLaren, again, feel sorry for them here. And feel sorry for Lando, feel sorry for Oscar Piastri, because they were damned if they did, and they were damned if they didn't. If they'd have let Lando Norris push on ahead, everyone will be going, Oscar Piastri was robbed, Oscar Piastri was robbed, and they would sort of be right. And letting Oscar Piastri win, you now see in the chatter about the people of going, well, we hope this doesn't wreck the championship. And again, that's sort of right. I hope it all gets resolved. I hope, people chatting about Max Verstappen, we hope that he doesn't win by less than 7 points. I sort of concur with that. I hope he either romps away or, loses out, because this feels like it's a bit of a scenario. Do you know what I mean? But since we're talking about Max Verstappen, we're going to have to talk about the other thing that happened in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen's race. Now, I'm going to completely abandon talking about the incident between him and Lewis Hamilton. The one where Verstappen almost did it wasn't that far away from doing a front somersault in that car. Like, that was crazy. I think I'm glad it was put down as a racing incident. I don't think it would have been fair on Max to have got any penalties on that. But again, I don't really want to talk about that too much. What I want to talk about is more just the way he sounded. He sounded like he was against the world from lap one. You know? Yeah, the look, in terms of opinions and facts, everyone can be wrong. I've been wrong about certain things. I know many streamers have been wrong about certain opinions. But it's the way he goes about it. The fact that he basically went, oh, Lando didn't give me any space, he turned in on me. Now, here's the thing. I'm not having to go at Max Verstappen for stating those incorrect facts. He can literally see things from his perspective. Cannot see the fact that Lando Norris is avoiding his own teammate and is basically being squeezed and someone's going to lose out. But I am having to go about that thing of just fighting everything. Oh, why is he's driven me off the circuit? And forget about whether feel like you've been driven off the circuit or not. You're off the circuit. Let it go, and let the stewards decide whether you've been driven off the track or not. Don't take the law into your own hands. And similarly, when it comes to the reaction to the Lewis Hamilton situation, do you know what? No, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about the strategy first. Like the strategy side of things. Okay, the strategy messed up, maybe, but to basically go over the radio and proper attack your own team, did not feel comfortable listening to that. It was not enjoyable. And the situation when it comes to the reaction to the Lewis Hamilton incident, again, he can only see things from his own perspective, and I don't mean to be funny. He's sort of right, he's sort of wrong, because Hamilton basically just did similar to what Max Verstappen does when defending. It was a little wiggle, but at the end of the day, Max Verstappen stayed straight on, and that was the situation. He was out of control. He was gonna lose the position anyway. And I'm sorry, he's racing against somebody who knows how to race with Max Verstappen and is fed up of the crap that he does when it comes to it. The crap that we enjoy, but still crap, right? And to go straight over the radio, you could tell Red Bull was starting to get their back up. The fact that Lambiase basically described the, moaning over the radio and discussions over the radio as childish, you get the feeling that Red Bull weren't having it anymore. They were not happy with his behaviour and attitude. So what's gone on? What is going on that means that Max Verstappen has gone from being the dominant driver at the start of the season to now being this misery? What's it down to? Well, any of you guys that perhaps watch the Formula One race on, I think it was Sky Sports at the time, you would have heard comments about his sim racing. The fact that he was up all night sim racing and then up early in the morning doing more sim racing. He couldn't get any sleep, and give up that crap. Give up that rubbish. Right? It's got absolutely nothing to do with that. I mean, I don't mean to be funny. A lot of us lead crazy busy lives. And if you can work out to store the energy, you can do things on seemingly low energy, right? Like, just look at Friday. I mean, a lot of you guys might have had a increased workload because of the Friday, right? I functioned on much less sleep because of the circumstances. Still functioned well, right? Sometimes there can be days where you are just in the zone and you can do it no matter what happens. There are people, and let's not forget he's young as well. People of that age can sometimes be awake and active for over 24 hours. It is not healthy, but they can do, right? I don't think it's got anything to do with lack of sleep or any of the sim racing stuff. What I do think it's to do with, though, is Max Verstappen can't handle being in a car that used to be good so recently and has now fallen off a cliff. He was just ahead of Perez, let's not forget that. And that's rough to take. And I'm not going to do the classic, Lando can do it when the team was rubbish, or Lewis can do it when the team was rubbish. Because firstly, Lewis Hamilton couldn't when it went from a dominant team to a struggling team. Even he got a bit emotional over radio and talking about that side of things. And Lando Norris has not quite gone to the situation where they go from being a dominant team to then dropping off a cliff. He hasn't got there yet. In fact, very few drivers have been able to have that sort of attitude of, right, okay, this is a situation we're in. Let's just get on with it. Let's just fight it. To give you an idea, I literally spent the last the like half an hour ago trying to work out what drivers have been able to just this situation, I'm just gonna get on with it. And the only two drivers I could think of were Nico Hulkenberg and Jenson Button, of recent examples. That's the sort of we remember the times when McLaren was rubbish and Honda was rubbish and things like that, and they would just go, right, okay, that's the situation, let's get on with it. No matter what happens, it's got nothing to do with the strategy team. It's got nothing to do with the engineer I'm talking to. It's got everything to do with, yes, how the car's being built in the background, and we'll sort that out in the background, but let's just get on with it. And maybe as a slight improvement to Max, it just needs to be that thing of having that, let's get on with it. The resilience, the actual thing of, let's do it. Because here's the thing: giving the positive to Max Verstappen, let's not forget he is fighting with that Red Bull and doing well with it. He is still getting podiums. He is still competing for podiums. If he hadn't have had the incident with Hamilton, within a couple of laps, he could have easily got a podium in this one, right? So this is not having a go at Verstappen. He's actually doing really well. It's now just that thing of make sure that you are building the right relationships. Because here's the thing: GP Lambiesa, the guy on the radio, he's taken a lot of stick from Verstappen over the radio, and sometimes it's been comedy and everything like that. But you just get the feeling he might have got tired of it. And here's the thing: if you fall out with your race engineer, you're going to struggle to build that back up. I hope it gets restored, because Max Verstappen still keeping the Red Bull going is one of the things that's making this Formula 1 season exciting. But we could be starting to see similar to the downfall of Vettel at Red Bull with Verstappen, where he's making enemies where he does not want to be making enemies. And that'd be really sad, because let's not forget, Verstappen is still ridiculously young. Deserves much better. And I hope that there ends up being some sort of solution that benefits both parties here. Whether that be a healing of all wounds and Verstappen realising where he's messed up and the team realising where they've messed up, and then discussing the things together properly and healing those bonds and building back those bridges. Or parting ways amicably and going, do you know what? The past 3 years have been absolutely epic, and maybe we need to both start afresh. I don't know. It's a lot to take on board, and a lot that's challenging my me wanting to show respect and liking Max Verstappen. But I think just as long as there can be some mature conversations and everything like that, there is no reason why this cannot be repaired and cannot be sorted. And so, whilst Hungarian Grand Prix did end on a damp squib, there are some take-home points. There are still some incredible things that have happened. Still, the Kick Saubers have started to perform better. Yeah, didn't quite get what they needed to, but they performed better. Hamilton driving the absolute wheel nuts off that thing. You feel like he's taken a second wind after the British Grand Prix winning a couple of weeks ago. And guess what? We go again next week in Belgium Spa. Max Verstappen's home race, technically speaking, as well. Oh boy. I get the feeling that there are plenty more storylines this season to come. Stay tuned, guys. It's going to be